So the key issues for the feed industry this year, on a very positive note, is that with much lower ingredient cost and more reasonable feeding costs for our producer customers, production of poultry and swine and dairy and beef this year are all projected to increase to some extent. And as an example, recent figures show that both swine and poultry production is up 6% over last year, and both dairy and beef are also showing some increases. So that's very positive for the broad industry, and obviously positive for the feed industry that there's more product that will be needed to support that increased production. With that said, we're also facing, as most people are well aware, the largest change in regulation for the feed industry since the 1950s with the Food Safety Modernization Act. So with that said, the work is still in progress. We're in the process of developing our comments back to FDA by the end of March on the first rule. We'll expect to see a final roll out then by mid-2015. But there's also a number of other segments that they're going to repropose, and we're going to be commenting on again this summer. It's a broad sequence of rules because it affects the total broad industry, where FDA's focus used to be primarily on Medicaid feed plants. Now it's on all feed plant manufacturing, all pet food manufacturing, all ingredient processing, the transportation of all those products, as well as all feed and ingredients being imported into the country. So when you just consider the magnitude of that, this is just a giant rule and a lot for the industry to prepare for. The good news is this final rule won't be out until June 2015, and then after that, the industry is going to have between 1 and 3 years to implement this rule. So AFIA is doing a lot of work to make sure that the industry is prepared for that in the process and has plenty of time to be prepared for implementing this final rule. As an example, we held a webinar just a month ago and had 2,500 participants in the webinar that really covered what the rule was about and how it's progressing, to give them an idea of how this is going to proceed and what they can expect and the timelines that will come behind this. In addition to that, though, we're going to hold additional webinars, and we're going to do regional training so that we can take this message directly to groups in the various parts of the U.S. industry and help them to really talk more in detail of exactly what they're going to need to do to comply with this, how they go back home and start to prepare and implement this, and make the changes that they may have to make to be in compliance with the rule when it's done. And then finally, in addition to our participation in the comment period with FDA, they've also asked us, after we complete our comment period, to then assist them in writing the guidance documents for the implementation of this rule. So AFIA is having a lot of input into this process. We're having a lot of representation on behalf of the industry, and I think we're going to be able to make this rule as practical as possible and assist the industry in really having the time and the preparation to be prepared to be in compliance with the rule when it's finally implemented.